The ship screamed through the alien atmosphere like a dying star, its hull glowing cherry red as atmospheric friction tore at the remaining armor plating. Commander Sarah Chen gripped her restraints as the Endurance bucked and shuddered around her, alarms blaring their final warnings into the smoke-filled bridge. "Hull integrity at 12%, shouted Lieutenant Morrison over the chaos. "We're not going to make it to the landing zone." Chen's jaw tightened as she watched their trajectory on the flickering display. 3 years of travel through the void, carrying the genetic material and knowledge of a dying Earth, only to crash land on this unknown world like a meteor. The irony wasn't lost on her. "All hands, brace for impact," she commanded into the ship's comm system. "This is it, people. Make it count." The Endurance struck the alien soil with the force of a small earthquake, carving a furrow half a kilometer long through what appeared to be a crystalline forest. The impact threw Chen forward against her restraints hard enough to crack ribs, and then everything went dark. She awoke to the sound of something moving outside the wreckage. The emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red, and the air tasted of copper and ozone. Around her, the surviving crew members were beginning to stir, 7 souls out of the 23 who had begun this journey. "Status report," Chen croaked, pulling herself upright despite the pain in her chest. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their xenobiologist, was already at her portable scanner. "Atmosphere is breathable, though the oxygen content is higher than Earth normal. Gravity is about 0.8 standard. And Commander." She paused, her face pale in the emergency lighting. "We're not alone." Through the cracked viewports, they could see them, beings that moved like liquid shadow between the crystal trees, easily 3 meters tall with limbs that seemed to bend in impossible directions. Their forms shifted and flowed as they observed the crash site from what they probably considered a safe distance. "Weapons?" Chen asked. "Minimal," replied Sergeant Rodriguez, their security chief. 3 sidearms, some cutting tools. Nothing that would matter against a hostile population. Chen nodded grimly. This was what they had prepared for during the long journey, not the crash, but the possibility of landing on an inhabited world. Humanity's last hope, reduced to 7 frightened survivors on an alien planet, dependent on the mercy of beings they couldn't begin to understand. Over the following days, as they worked to salvage what they could from the wreckage, the shadow beings grew bolder. They approached in groups, communicating through harmonics that made the humans' teeth ache. Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly to establish some form of communication, while the rest focused on survival. It was on the 4th day that everything changed. Chen was attempting to repair their long-range communicator when she heard shouting from outside. She grabbed her sidearm and rushed from the makeshift shelter they'd built from hull plating, expecting the worst. Instead, she found Rodriguez and 2 others standing over Dr. Tanaka, who was kneeling beside one of the shadow beings. The alien lay motionless, its form no longer shifting, and even in the strange light of this world's binary suns, Chen could see the creature was badly injured. "It just collapsed," Tanaka explained without looking up. "I think it's dying." The other shadow beings had formed a circle around the scene, their harmonics rising and falling in what could only be described as mourning. Chen holstered her weapon and knelt beside her colleague. "Can you help it?" "I don't know. Their physiology is completely unlike anything we've encountered, but..." Tanaka's hands moved over her medical scanner. "I think I understand the basic principles. It's like a massive infection, spreading through its system." For the next 6 hours, Dr. Tanaka worked with an intensity that bordered on obsession. She used every medical technique in her arsenal, adapted for an alien physiology, while the shadow beings watched in absolute silence. The other humans maintained a perimeter, uncertain whether they were witnessing a medical procedure or some form of first contact protocol. When the shadow being's form began to shift again, a sound went up from the gathered aliens that made the air itself seem to vibrate. The injured creature rose slowly, its movement still weak but unmistakably alive. What happened next would be recorded in the chronicles of 2 species. The shadow beings approached the humans not as potential threats, but as saviors. Through painstaking effort, Dr. Tanaka and the alien she had saved, who they learned was called something approximating harmonic of deep crystal, established a basic communication protocol. The shadow beings, it turned out, were facing their own extinction. The same infection that had nearly killed harmonic of deep crystal was spreading through their population, and their medical knowledge was insufficient to combat it. In saving one life, Dr. Tanaka had demonstrated humanity's potential value to an entire civilization. Within a year, the humans had not only found a new home but had become the most revered beings on the planet. Their medical knowledge, combined with human adaptability and problem-solving skills, provided solutions the shadow beings had never considered. In return, the aliens shared their advanced understanding of crystalline technology and harmonic engineering. Commander Chen stood on the balcony of the research facility they had built together, watching the binary sun set over a city that was part human architecture, part alien crystal growth. Behind her, she could hear Dr. Tanaka explaining human DNA replication to a group of young shadow beings, while Sergeant Rodriguez was teaching their defense techniques to alien security forces. The Endurance had been humanity's last hope when it left a dying Earth. Now, as Chen watched human children play alongside young shadow beings in the courtyard below, she realized that hope had taken a form none of them had ever imagined. Sometimes, she reflected, salvation came not from strength or technology, but from the simple act of extending a hand to help someone who was dying. In saving the shadow beings, humanity had saved itself, and in the process, both species had found something neither had possessed before, a future bright enough to span the stars.